Camera. Okay. Mm, Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Kerigma Guerrero. I'm a student of bachelor's degree in foreign languages, and uh, the topic of this webinar is the affective factors and the education. Okay, as an introduction, I could tell you guys that for years, the learners, specifically the second language learners, have been influenced by numerous factors, affective factors, like the age, the society, the environment, and so on. And the affective factors are included in those ones. If we're talking about learning a new language, the affective factors play a significant role because it makes connections between the psychological personal construction and the second language acquisition. But what are the affects? Well, for the psychoanalyst, it refers to those mental structures which are in charge of different, structures like motivational, somatic, expressive, emotional, sentimental components, among others, but also include the cognitive components. It includes emotions and feelings. But in those processes are implied the learner's individual factors, but also the learners and teacher learners relationships and interactions. Some examples of these kind of components are the self-esteem, the inhibition, the anxiety, personality, motivation, attitude, and empathy, and among others. But how it influences the education in a general way. First of all, we have to say that the education is an effective process because those which are involved in this process are humans, teachers and students, which move by relationships, communication, and so on. And those are processes which includes affective factors. Added to this, um, the affective factors influence a lot the cognitive strategies because are in charge of the acquisition, the storage, and the information recovery. And some different researchers claim that the relationship between affects and learning it's cyclical. As you could see, um, they claim that the learning experiences provokes emotional reactions and those provokes the beliefs formation. And at the same time, it could influence the behavior in the learning situations. What we need to learn? Well, according to Mónica Cortés, which is a master psychologist of the University Dirección de Educación a Distancia, USM, um, some factors that influence when we are learning are the attitude and the will taken to the positive way, the social abilities, and the motivation also taken to the positive way. When I talk about take it to the positive way, I refer, sorry, that when those factors um, provokes in you or in the students the action, like in pro or in favor of their learning process. I'm gonna talk to you, or I'm gonna show you some examples. The first one is the motivation. And Howard Gardner claims that the Motivation is the extent to which a person strives to learn because of the desire to do so and the satisfaction that they experience in doing so. The motivation could be extrinsic or intrinsic. The extrinsic is which comes from the outside. For example, money, prices, grades, and the intrinsic comes from the inside. For example, internal needs, security, identity, self-esteem. And on the other hand, we have the anxiety. Some examples could be the tension, sadness, honesty. And the anxiety is closely related to a negative affective experience. Um, we could be evidence the anxiety when the learners or the students must express in another language. They could seem fearfulness and uneasiness. Those factors are the most common in classrooms because the students have a bad perception about the learning and specifically about the mm, learning a new language. In my experience, on my practice, I could be able to see that the students are really fearfulness about talking English, and the most part of the time they could understand what I'm saying, but when I encourage them to talk, they're just freak out and makes a lot of like feel a lot of anxiety. So the anxiety is the most common factor in English classrooms. Taking into account what Juan Carlos Reyes claims, based on the book Autonomy of Affect by Brian Masumi, we can highlight the importance of the affective factors through the so-called affective turn. This process shows how the affectivity produce the empathy, and the empathy produce social change, which is one of the main purposes of the education. And to explain the final point, I want to go to the parallelism made by Amanda Cespedes in her TED talk. She claims that the woodpecker represents the education with non-emotional factor, or that not consider the affective factor. And the hummingbird represents the emotional education. In the first one, the strategy is drilling until you reach your objective. And the second one, the strategy is the sensitivity, the full attention, and the empathy. As a conclusion, we could say that it is fundamental to taking into account those factors when we are teaching, since without those factors, we could fail and negatively influence the learning process of the students. And that was all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Kerigma. I think it was a very nice topic. I don't know, why did you choose this topic?
As I said before, on my practice, I could be able to see that the most important factor or the most important barrier in the learning process of the students was the affective factor, specifically the perception about learning English. They were like, I don't like English, I'm really bad for English, and that just lies, you know? And I could be able to see that that is a really important factor when we are teaching English or teaching
Definitely.
everything.
Yes, anything. Yeah, definitely. It is very important to I don't know, like to make a click with a person in order to open their minds and like make them aware that they are able or capable of doing everything, because sometimes if we don't have that connection, then all the learning process might be affected as well. So thank you very much for reflecting on that and sharing, of course, your view about this. So I'm gonna ask Catalina and Dana to please make a question regarding to this topic.
Hi, okay, my question is, why do you think that it's important to treat the uh, anxiety?
Your question is why
I mean,
or
like, why
what?
do you think that?
Okay.
No, why do you think
Okay.
it's important to treat that?
Um, in the current world, the anxiety is one of the most relevant topics, and on our children's, the anxiety is really common right now. And as I said before to the teacher, um, into the classrooms, the students should be feel comfortable and just in a comfortable space to learn, because when you are learning you need to be comfortable and you need to feel confident and just being aware that you are learning and it's a process. So it's really important to treat this topic and this factor, because um, if you don't take into account those factors, your teaching could be not successful, um, or not a good results, don't have a good results.
Okay, thank you.
Um, Hi, Kerigma. So my question for you is, what has been a previous experience of yours in your practice, as you mentioned, that has allowed you to observe these affective factors in action and the way they affect in the education environment?
Okay, on my practice, I've been in just one school in my whole practice, so I could be able to observe the same students in different contexts, and I could see that like three students are really good for English, really, really, really good, but they were like blocked. Like when the class started, they were really sad, really anxious, and really discouragement, like sad, you know. And when I gave them the assessments and the task, um, the results were really good, like really, really good. So I asked myself, like, why those students are good in English, but at the same time, they're not participating, and yeah. So I make a little research, and I found that they feel really anxious, really insecurity. They feel so insecure about their abilities in English. So we start a process with them, encourage them, and help them to being aware about their abilities and the results. And yeah, so uh, this experience just take me or put me in a place that, wow, this situation, it's really important when we are teaching. So yeah.
All right, thank you. That's a very rewarding point of view, and as well as a pretty relevant topic of research that I love that you talked about it. Because it's really important when you want to build this connection with the students you're teaching, right?
Thank you, Dana.
Okay, Kerigma, thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording here your presentation.